I guess the easiest way to do this is just to sort of dive in. Don't mind my lack of makeup and the Marge Simpson hairstyle. It's the height of summer right now and things are pretty toasty out there. So despite my black wardrobe, I am trying very hard to stay cool. The last time I uploaded, I believe, was February, and I meant to get more work done, but life just kind of happened, as it tends to do. And the TLDR is that about a year ago, about May of last year, I took a full-time job because I had been out of work for about 4 or 5 years previous to that, and it looked like it would be a good opportunity to get my feet wet, start from the ground up, and work myself back up to where I was as a network analyst, because those jobs just weren't nibbling. And after months of stress and anxiety, we kind of came to the realization that me working a phone-based job right now is not great. And the husbeast and I decided that I would try to do full-time work on the YouTube channel. So you're probably going to see a few things changing over the next little bit. For starters, I'm going to be looking at my Patreon tiers and seeing how I can change those up. I'm also going to be turning on channel memberships because I'm pretty sure there are some folks who would like to support the channel, but they just can't be arsed to go to Patreon. So we're going to see what we can do about that. And in the meantime, I'm going to start working on getting more stuff done because I've got a list as long as my arm of things that I would like to do and things that I really should do. For instance, I've got one project that's been on the back burner for about a year and a half. I'd really like to get that done. And that's one of the reasons why we are right here in front of my antique white rotary sewing machine. If I can get this machine back up and running, I might be able to get that other video done a little bit sooner. Because I'd like to be able to use the antique sewing machine to be able to make that particular garment. But in the meantime, you may notice a few things change around on the channel. You may notice me putting up more craft related work in the meantime, mainly because it's possibly easier content for me to get filmed and edited up and out there prior to getting out one of my more longer form sewing videos. Trust me, those are still in the works. I'd like to ideally have at least 2 of those per month, but if anything has been brought down to me over the past 2 months, it's that we all kind of love our vintage mystery crochet. It hasn't escaped my notice that at the beginning of the year, my Shetland wool scarf video just took off for some reason. And then not long after that, when Just Vintage Crochet started up her channel, the Edwardian purse took off again. And so I guess we all just love our mystery vintage crochet. It's not just me. So I'm thinking what I'll do is possibly explore some of that area myself. Not necessarily vintage crochet, though that is possible. I mean, I don't want to step on Corinne's toes or anything like that, but I do like a good mystery project, so I've picked out some tatting. That might be something to do. I've got a big book of granny squares that I have meant to go through. Like, I mean, it's a leisure arts book, but I've had it for years, and I think I've actually got an earlier copy of it somewhere that was my mother's or my grandmother's. I mean, that thing's been around for a long time, and every time I've tried to pick it up, I just haven't gotten anywhere with it. So now that I have a little bit more knowledge about crochet, I've considered making cozy mystery crochet, basically by choosing a granny square from the 99 in the book and seeing how that goes. So if you've got any kind of interest in that, please let me know down in the comments. Also, mystery knitting. As I said, I love a good mystery. It's something that has been on my channel for the past couple of years. It's just I haven't had a lot of time to devote to it. So if that's something that you would like to see is mystery handicrafts, not necessarily just crochet, I would definitely be up for putting that sort of thing on there. I've also considered putting how to tat videos, how to knit, how to crochet, and that might be something that goes into Patreon for Patreon supporters, because I don't really know whether I have the temperament to do a whole bunch of tutorial videos, but needless to say, there will be long-form sewing videos and crafty adventures, possibly intermingling, which is why I'm trying to give myself about 2 weeks between videos so that I have time to get everything done and do the editing, because I kind of want to make my own lace. And if the sun going behind a cloud is not an omen of things going bad, I guess we'll see how that goes. But let's take a look at the sewing machine and see if we can get it fixed up. So this is my Edwardian era white rotary treadle machine. It came with a whole bunch of presser feet. There's even more that came in a couple of buckets that were kind of stuck on the treadle foot, so I'm going to have to sort through those. It also came with 3 bobbins. They're almost the size of my Pfaff bobbins for my Tiptronic downstairs, and I've heard that you can use Pfaff bobbins with this model. That remains to be seen. I'll give it a try and we'll see if it works. If so, that will make replacing the bobbins a little easier down the line. We're missing a drive band, and so I picked up a drive band replacement kit. It also came with some needles and some standard bobbins that I probably could use in my old Kenmore, as well as a couple of other goodies. And I picked up some needles that should hopefully work in the white rotary. So I guess let's get started. All right, so this is editing / voiceover mare. First thing we need to do is we need to install the drive band. So it is a thin leather strip that goes around the innards. You mark it off on the leather strip where you need to have the hole punched, and also where you need to snip it off later. You can use the awl or maybe even a nail to punch a little hole into that strip. Make sure that you don't poke yourself in the hand. Now here you can see me inserting the staple into the little hole that I made. And then we crimp it so that the staple doesn't come loose. And then we trim away the excess. It will stretch over time, so you will probably have to undo that staple and repunch the hole eventually. Next, I swapped out the needle. Things were a little tricky as the nut was a bit stiff. Using one of my brand new needles. I think it's a 1490 universal needle. And you just pop it in there with the flat side to the right, I do believe, and just screw it back into place. To get your bobbin going, you're going to have to release the flywheel so that it's not making your needle go up and down. Pull out the bobbin winding mechanism and put your bobbin into place on the other end. Now there are a couple of little holes that you can thread your yarn through. Usually you'd use that bobbin stand right above there. And you can just thread your bobbin and get going. It doesn't take very long to fill up the bobbin. Now to put your bobbin into place, pop it into the bobbin holder, wind it through the slots, and this is the tricky part. You have to try and catch the thread on the other side. So you have to go down a little bit and then up, and it should pop right into place. Then we put things back where they belong on the undercarriage of the machine. Sorry about the blurriness and the lack of lighting, to be honest. Bringing the thread up is just like on a modern machine. You just give it a quick turn of the flywheel and it should bring the thread up to the top. Then you just pop your plate back in place. Threading the top is a bit of a trick. There's a mechanism for tensioning right there. And then you go down the little slot. Hold on to your thread just above the mechanism. Push through and give it a slight pull up. It will give a little click. And then in through the little arm. Like many machines, there is a little catch that you have to get your thread threaded through and then into the needle from left to right. Now we're ready to sew. And here's my example. As you can see, it's not too tight and not too loose, and it looks like I'm clear to go for my next project.